The terrorist threat has decreased in some ways because bin Laden is dead. The terrorist threat has decreased in some ways because an Iranian nuclear weapons program has been stopped. But there are other parts of the world that are challenging.
That's Senator Tim Kaine arguing last night that the terrorist threat to the U.S. has decreased. Sounds just like President Obama.
They do not threaten our national existence. ISIL is on the defensive. Our 66-member coalition, including Arab partners, is on the offensive. There are fewer ISIL fighters on the battlefield in Syria and Iraq, and for those who are there, it's harder for them to recruit and replenish their ranks.
Our research, based on government information, shows there have been at least a dozen successful terror attacks on U.S. soil during President Obama's presidency. Now there are reports that this is news. It's coming out of Europe. 7 of the 10 Paris attackers slipped into the EU as migrants. Nobody knew that it was 7. That's a larger number than people had thought. So people are worried out there that what's going on in Europe is a prelude to what could happen here. We have Trump foreign policy advisor Walid Phares, who joins me now. Do you, sir, think the threat of terror attacks in the United States has decreased in any way?
That is not, Liz, what 65 of the 66 or 67 allies with whom we are fighting this fight against ISIL and the other jihadists are saying. When we meet their officers, when we meet their politicians, they are saying basically that the jihadi threat is now much larger in their countries across the Mediterranean and across the Atlantic. So we found ourselves, this administration, not even Congress, alone with some of the media backers that are asserting that they are shrinking. Every time we take or seize a town or a village from ISIS, we count it as ISIS is going down. But ISIS is expanding in 30 countries. Ask the French, who are just introducing the issue of the attack in France, and the migrant jihadists who are coming. The battlefield is much wider than ever before, Liz.
What's also happening, too, we already know that FBI Director James Comey testified for Congress saying we can expect a terrorist diaspora like we've never seen before in the history of this country in the next 5 years. John McCain saying what's going on in Syria could lead to a terrorist crisis as well. The National Director of Intelligence saying that as well. And Mike Pence saying last night that it was actually Hillary Clinton that allowed ISIS to form. Take a listen.
Our primary threat today is ISIS. And because Hillary Clinton failed to renegotiate a status of forces agreement that would have allowed some American combat troops to remain in Iraq and secure the hard-fought gains the American soldier had won by 2009, ISIS was able to be literally conjured up out of the desert, and it's overrun vast areas that the American soldier had won in Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Do you agree with that, sir?
Liz, it's not just this election cycle that is producing those arguments that the governor has advanced very successfully. I was in the previous electoral cycle in 2011, 2012. We were warning that if the administration will withdraw unilaterally from Iraq without leaving behind not just American forces but allies, we are going to see the return of the jihadists and worse, the return of the Iranians or in penetration by the Iranians. Both have happened. That's why now, 5 years later, we see all that chaos in Iraq, in Syria, and now all over the place.
Walid, I just want to do a recap of what Hungarian intelligence officials are saying. 7 of the 10 terrorists there came in and through the migrant stream into Europe, and those 7 of the 10, they were responsible also for the Brussels attack. We have new data on how many people were killed. And the Paris attacks just happened about a year ago, November of last year. There were, let me give it to you, 368 injured in Paris, 137 killed, 32 killed in Brussels, and 90 injured. So you're talking 169 people killed and 458 people injured. I'm not sure how anybody can say this terror threat is decreased, Walid.
Oh boy, and by 10 jihadists or so. I remember when we discussed the issue after the attack at the Bataclan and the other locations in Paris and in Brussels, we said that 3 ways. Either these are indoctrinated on French soil, these are French jihadis coming back to French soil, but we also said this could be also a penetration by those migrants, and now the Hungarian intelligence services is confirming what we had projected many months ago.
Yeah, Hungary's now fighting EU quotas, other countries there as well on migrants. Walid, thank you so much.